fruits, nuts, and seeds.
Chapatti, thank you for teaching us to be healthy.
The energy that I feel with these meals.
Chapatti, that was really yummy.
Like a kid with new toys. Health is my greatest joy. Come and see, come and be with our host Chapatti.
Hello and welcome to Food with Life. I am Chapatti and we're in Los Angeles, California at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles. And I have a very interesting acronym to ask you. It is at which all relativity evolves. A-W-A-R-E. Aware. And someone who can share with us her brilliance about aware and awareness is a lady named Lisa Garr, who has a beautiful radio show on KPFK radio and Hay House News radio and many other stations in the United States of America. Lisa Garr is our beautiful guest. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, our pleasure. You know, awareness and is something that everybody has, and sometimes we're not sure. And you created a beautiful show all about it. Tell us how you started. What is Aware Show about?
Gosh, the Aware Show started because of an accident that I had. And it started because of a tragic brain injury that I had, and I was attempting to rebuild parts of my brain that were registering as dormant, and I had a mountain biking accident. So I cracked my helmet in several places and didn't realize the damage that I had achieved until much later. As I was going through the process of rebuilding my brain, I wanted to interview these amazing people that had these incredible technologies. They were really groundbreaking back then, like neurofeedback and helping people and kids with epilepsy and so forth. I mean, they're really great techniques. They're very common now, but they really worked.
To get themselves back to normal.
Yes, and they were working on these kids, and they worked on me. And so I wanted the world to know what our options are, what choices are, what possibilities there are. And then the name Aware came to me in a dream. It was a whole recurring dream that kept happening of this locomotive train, and inside the train was a control room, much like our television studio control rooms. And then on the outside of the train was this word aware. And I was working in television at the time, and then synchronicities just started happening. Somebody called me, friend said, hey, this radio station's being sold, they're looking for a drive time programmer, do you want to do it? And I said, never done that before, sure, because I really wanted to get the message out. And then it snowballed into now 18 years later with a 2 million person reach a month, and it's a journey, and it's a beautiful journey. And I can tell you one guest that in the middle of an interview doesn't say, when you become aware, and it's like I couldn't have written it any better myself, because it's all about awareness.
So you created the name, The Aware Show.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
yeah, on the show, or Spirit created it, or
It was created through you.
yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful message, you know. I don't think anything more strong or vibrant could be than that word aware. You know, what's interesting is that awareness involves so many things with the relative changing life, you know.
Yeah.
Outside we see things through our senses, our five senses, and inside we have all this experience of our mental thoughts and you know, our intellect and our emotions and all these things that go on. And we forget them sometimes, you know.
Oh, definitely. I think we have amnesia, selective amnesia. Selective amnesia. And we have these experiences. The near-death experience I had when I had that accident is indelible. That for me is, and you know from having that experience is, I think what classifies a near-death experience is the vivid, indelible mark that it leaves in the brain. More than any dream, more than any experience, it leaves an indelible mark in the brain that is so bright you can never forget it. It's like a stamp.
A deep impression.
Of awareness, yeah.
Deep impression.
It is, and it's as if every sense lightens up at that period of time where you have, and I had this incredible, vast experience of awareness, of all things happening as one.
And it sheds light on
Yes,
the future.
and you never forget it. And you remember it as if it just happened. I can still see the colors and the trees and the sky and the feeling of Asia. And I was in California and had this amazing feeling of Asia. It was an incredible experience. Yeah, it didn't really make me something I wanted to come back from.
Right, right.
But I did.
But it puts
Obviously.
a beautiful image on your mind in seeing the future. You know?
I think it makes me know what's possible.
Yes.
I think I've been in a quest ever since then to find out where that state of pure potential is, and that where that state is, where all things happen simultaneously.
Yeah, deep down.
I'm sure there's a quantum physics explanation around it, but and how much our free will controls it is also a part of the experience. But I literally saw something in that moment that happened 15 years later. And I didn't even realize it until a year after the event had occurred. And then I realized, my God, I saw that 15 years ago. And I had written about it and documented it, and I didn't know what it was.
We're going to talk more about this, because this starts a seed which can grow into many things, okay?
Sounds great.
All right. I am your host, Chapatti. This is Food with Life with our special guest, Lisa Garr. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Food with Life. I am your host, Chapatti, and with the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles with our very special guest, Lisa Garr, creator of a beautiful show called The Aware Show. And we're in the middle of discussing some ideas and concepts of how it came about. And so I was going to ask you, Lisa, The Aware Show, from what you're telling me, could have an immense undertaking and yet create so many things in people's minds, you know. So what is your goal for the show? Where do you think, would you want to put it? How do you want it to, everybody to breathe the show?
Unfold. I truly believe, because we are such consumers of media, and we love entertainment, and we love looking at things that are not us. But if we could use that beautiful media platform, any platform that we see, and that's why I like being on so many different platforms. Somebody will watch this show and it'll resonate with exactly what they need to hear. It will unlock through a frequency a specific thing that only speaks to them, and they change.
Like a turn a key.
Yes, I see it all the time. I mean, major things have been unlocked, like massive sexual trauma, suicides. I mean, there have been some incredible healings, miracles that have happened just by having a platform that speaks truth, that presents options, that talks about possibilities, and somebody hears what somebody brilliant has to say, and it's like a key fitting in a keyhole for them, and it unlocks their potential. And then they, years later, will go on to do the same for others. And it's a ripple effect, and it's going to continue to grow for that reason, because it's set in that space.
Right.
The Aware Show is set in the space where anyone can have what they need to have at any given time.
Right. I think I understand. It's almost like what someone could say, a scientist somewhere might, or it doesn't have to be a scientist. He could plant a seed.
Yes.
You know?
Seeds,
and you may
yes.
hear it, the thought, you may think, or you may not, but then later at some point, or at that same time he's saying something, you might think, yes, I could do that.
Oh.
Or I could do this, or this could help me this way. I mean,
I can't wait for 20, 25 years from now, Kenny, when we have, you know, conscious media is as big as Netflix or as big as your nighttime episodics, but it's got to be entertaining, and it's got to be fun, and it's got to be relevant, and it's growing in popularity because people know that we need transformational entertainment. That's the whole point.
And that's important, you know, if we can make it entertaining
Yes.
and make a difference. I think that's significant, because there's many things on you see on internet or TV which make a difference, but I don't think they make a difference in a good way, you know. But there are things that do some wonderful things too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Aware Show is something that can open up people's minds. You
There's a
know?
lot of people that have said thank you for the work that I do, and I always wonder what they mean by that, because it comes through me without a choice.
Right.
There's not a work that I do. It's a mission. It's a purpose. It
Right, it's your
lives through
destiny,
me. Yeah.
your goal. I
Yeah.
think what's beautiful about this Aware Show is it moves forward the idea of healing,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Of healing whatever levels we may need to work on. You bring the guests in and yourself, and they listen, and in some way, shape, or form, whatever an emotion, some stress, some
Yes.
residue of something which is maybe blocking something, they'll hear
Yes.
about it, and suddenly,
Connecting the mind, the body, and the spirit. And there's so many brilliant authors and practitioners and people who are doing amazing work in the world, but they're working on their niche of the world. And I think it's part of my purpose to get their voice heard and their voice. It's like the doctor who's the amazing surgeon but doesn't know how to run an office, and then they close their office. You have to have somebody to facilitate the good work in the world.
right,
Yeah.
right, and you're the facilitator.
I try. Yes. Yeah.
So, this may take a bit of time, but I'm just wondering, you know, you've done many shows. Is there any one show that you've done that is your favorite?
Gosh, I've done almost 4,000 hours of shows.
These are talk shows, yes?
Yes, yes.
You don't seem to be talking so much.
I'm listening. Let's make a good talk show host. Good
I'm
listener.
just joking with you.
Gosh, my favorites. I mean, I've done some great shows on Gaia TV with Blender chef David Wolf, and we had an amazing time with the alchemy of food and stuff exploding out of blenders. That it was such a beautiful moment. It seems like it's not deeply transformational, but it probably had hundreds of thousands of views because people love the alchemy of mind, body, spirit coming through food.
Right.
And that was amazing. Wayne Dyer was my very good friend and mentor, and he wrote the foreword to my book, and I always love my shows with Wayne.
Hold this thought one
Okay.
second. We take a break. I want to hear much more about Wayne Dyer and David Wolf.
Yes.
I am your host, Chapatti. This is Food with Life with our special guest, Lisa Garr. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Food with Life. I am your host, Chapatti, and we're with our special guest, Lisa Garr, discussing immeasurable, unfathomable, wonderful things about a little bit about food and ideas and how they can reshape and reform our belief system or what's going on inside our mind and body.
Yes.
So you were touching on a little bit about Mr. David Wolf.
Oh yeah, David. He's amazing. He was always into food alchemy, and for example, I interviewed him.
What actually is the definition of food alchemy?
I'll explain. He has a farm in Kauai, and he was the first person to take the vanilla bean, and he realized vanilla beans like to climb, and he had an orchard of cacao trees. And so he took the vanilla bean and weaved it up the trunk of the cacao tree, and now it's actually producing vanilla flavored cacao nuts. And that's food alchemy. When you take what nature wants to do itself and it births into something beautiful and new. It's not genetically modified, and it's not a super seed that's going to put a farmer into extreme stress. It is the beautiful alchemy of food meets what nature wants to evolve to.
Yes.
And that brings me to the concept around evolving, is that every species on this planet, even a cell in a petri dish, either evolves or it dies. And if we are not evolving, we are dying. And it happens with everything. It happens with food and everything. Yeah.
Everything you do, either has a good effect or not so good. So that's a very brilliant idea, because many times we do things and we're not aware.
Yes, comes up all the time.
We have good
Yes.
or bad effect.
Yes.
Myself, I may say something which is not good
Yes.
to someone or my wife or something. They think, wait, and then I have to go back and retrack and say, this was not good for anybody.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's important to be able to be aware of not just things you do, everyday things.
Yes.
Because that's what causes the problems. When we do something incorrectly or not right, it creates some stress,
Yes.
emotions,
Yes.
discontent maybe, and not good feelings or something. And I think it's wonderful to have that sense of awareness.
Yeah, I think it keeps us in the light too. It keeps us higher consciousness thinkers. In those lower levels of thinking with the anger and the frustration and the doubt and the negativity, sometimes they serve a purpose, because when you're in that moment of breakdown, that's one of the best moments to have the best breakthrough, but you have to be looking for it. You cannot have a total breakdown moment and think there's never a way out. Yeah, and so that moment of staying in, knowing that there's a higher way out of something, and that there is a moment of awareness out of something, is what helps those dark moments. It helps you break through those.
Change color.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, is there a way that we perhaps in some type of a way to bring this awareness into your consciousness, so you're aware of it, or there's different types of things, and development, meditations, and techniques, and all this. Anything you suggest to people that maybe they could take home with them?
Wow.
What do you think?
So many things. One of the things that I personally love to do is I love movement. In every morning I either exercise for an hour or an hour and a half or whatever I do, but in that moment where I'm in the endorphins and the serotonin and everything releasing, my meditations happen there. I do very active meditations where I'll spend an entire half an hour on deep gratitude, but it'll be during movement. So in my neurology is happening my gratitude practice. And in my movement is happening with my creative process. And I talk a lot to God, and I do all of that. When I marry it with movement, it, for me, is more indelible in the body. And that's one of my favorite techniques, is marrying movement with meditation.
I think that's critical.
Yeah.
If people can just take something from what you're saying, or research, or do something, whatever it might be, and bring it home to themselves, it can change everything for them,
Yeah. And it could even be through yoga or whatever it is that you do, but to have your intentions during the time where the blood is flowing to the muscles or other parts of the body, you can have a mono focus of gratitude or of appreciation or of action or of mindfulness. I mean, it can all come in.
I think yoga is beautiful too. I do that sometimes. It's inspiring.
Yes, it is.
So
Absolutely.
we're going to take a little break, and we'll come right back. And I am your host, Chapatti, with our special guest, Lisa Garr. This is Food with Life. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Food with Life. I am your host, Chapatti, with our special guest, Lisa Garr. And we're discussing a bit about transformation of our mind and body and everything we do. So, we were talking a little bit about another brilliant man, Wayne Dyer.
Yes, yes.
Tell me about Wayne and how Mr. Dyer affected you and what impact he had.
He had a gift for being able to see the potential in people. And whenever he would meet somebody, he would always contribute to that person in some way. He had that special knack for doing that with me. I had him on dozens of shows, and he even hosted my show while I was giving birth. But he said that he believed in me, and he believed in so many people. And he wrote the foreword in my book, and when he read the foreword to me over the phone, I remember the day that he called me and read it to me. He was on speakerphone with a bunch of people in the house, and I was weeping on the floor. His words were he saw me, and he had that gift of seeing people for what they truly are. And it was a great loss to the spiritual community when his body passed on although his spirit still lives so strongly within us, because he was such an incredible inspiration to so many people because he walked his talk.
Right, I think
Yeah.
that a good purpose, what he pursued, and he made that impact on people.
Such an amazing, gifted speaker too. He really had the ability to impact a room like he was just speaking to you.
Right.
Very gifted man, and gifted in terms of gifts from God, and he knew that.
Right.
He knew that.
He didn't really, I saw him a couple of times, and he didn't say anything about himself.
No,
You know?
no, ego is edging God out, yeah.
Right.
I remember his great phrases. They're everywhere.
So I have a question to ask you. It seems clear here, but I'm wondering, so from the shows you have been doing and will be doing, is there what kind of practical knowledge do you take with you? After you do a show,
Oh gosh, every show I do, I use. I use it The Aware Show I set in this oasis space. So whatever moment I'm in, somehow that topic is working for me at that moment. Even if it's about politics. Marianne Williamson is on my show a lot, and she's really helped me become more active in the political role. Before I thought, oh, I'm spiritual, so I can't really have politics, and it was such a joke. I mean, it's so great to know that everything that I talk about is empowering the human being and the human spirit. And awakeness, awareness, aliveness, it's all the same thing.
it's all spirit.
Yes.
Politics, everything.
Everything.
And we get caught up things, about this is not a good person running, or this is not a good office, and but it's all part of the big picture.
Yes.
You know?
Whatever it is that you're learning from anyone, Greg Braden or Joe Dispenza or Bruce Lipton, or any of these great new thought leaders of our time, if you really just take your time and you spend some time with their message, it will change your life. You will never forget it.
Yes, it's almost much the cells in your body.
Totally.
You talk or read or practice something with some teacher, and boom, everything begins to reunite.
Yes.
Become more synchronous. Your whole brain waves start to change.
Awareness is very practical.
Right,
Yes.
right. Yes, I know. Awareness is being aware of whatever it is.
Yeah.
We used to teach about the meditation about consciousness. And is it conscious of whatever it might be? The whole world is being conscious of whatever. And most important, being conscious of yourself.
Yes.
I think that's what your awareness is brilliant. It's about awareness of yourself.
Well, you're doing the same thing. You're doing the work with conscious media and transformational media and getting it to as many people as possible so that they can understand what it means to grow and to change and to inspire others.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
brilliant what you say. I think that's the most important thing we need to learn, and everybody together,
Yeah.
about growing for a better world, and not just that, a better self.
Yeah.
Because I think everything, I don't think, but I know everything comes from within you. And what's within you creates the world around you.
Yes.
So I very much want to thank you, and
Thank
we're
you.
honored to have you as a guest. And maybe we'll do some other work together. But being aware is, in your words, what would you say?
As I said, awareness is practical.
Practical.
And I always invite people to stay aware.
Yes.
Okay.
I am your host, Chapatti. Be practical, be aware, enjoy, be happy, and have a good life. Thank you for watching Food with Life. I am your host, again, Chapatti. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.